Something interesting happened recently, and it was really the source of today's conversation. Coupled with a couple of things I've seen in recent times, I believe that this is a very, very much needed conversation for us to have, especially our traditional said that we have a community of founders, community of entrepreneurs, especially with the additional lab that we are now also unveiling. It's a much needed conversation if we are going to make progress as a continent and as a country. To be honest, there's no dramatic difference between startups failures in Africa and startups failures anywhere in the world. Um, because globally, 80% of startups fail in their first 5 years, 5 to 10 years. 80% of startups fail. In fact, it will be interesting for you to know that the figure is even lesser in Africa. In Africa, it's about 55% to 75% of startups that fail within the first 5 to 10 years. But then, when we say why startups fail in Africa, we are not saying why startups fail only in Africa. That's not the conversation. The conversation is the fact that startups fail everywhere. But in Africa, what is the cause? Do you get the conversation now? Because it's possible that the interpretation of the topic to you is that, oh, startups succeed in America, startups succeed in London, startups succeed in the Middle East, but in Africa, startups fail. No, that's not what we're talking about. Startups fail everywhere. In fact, one of the most exciting conversations for me to have, or that I've seen by someone, by an African investor, is the fact that he said something that I really, truly enjoy or truly, truly believe in. He said that the default state or the default result of any startup is failure. That's a very mind-boggling statement. He said the default result or the default response of any startup anywhere in the world is what? Is failure. And that begs the question that really? Really, the default state is failure? Because one thing you must understand about when you say you are starting up something is the fact that you are bringing up something that people are not used to. It can even something people are used to, but in a way that they are not used to. So you get it now that, and one of the things that you can try to change is culture, people, human behavior, right? For example, now in the Yoruba land of Nigeria, there's a way things are done. In the Igbo land of Nigeria, there's a way things are done. In the Hausa land of Nigeria, there's a way things are done. And there's even hundreds of other ethnic groups that there's a way things are done. You don't just barge into anybody's culture and say, oh, this is how things should be done now. And I'll give you a practical example of that's exactly what many startups are doing. Should I give you an example? Growing up with your parents, if you get back from school as a typical Nigerian, or maybe even African, and you told your mom that as you're coming back from school today, you saw a stranger's car and then you entered the car, what would your parents say? Are you okay? What if you are kidnapped? What if something happens to you? Is that not what we are all doing with Uber? I mean, you are on a mobile app and then you pick up a random person you don't know and say, come and pick me up at my house. You're even telling the person your house address. You can see how crazy that is. And then you are trusting this person that you do not know. You are getting into the person's car and you're saying, take me to where I'm going to. Someone you've never met before. Crazy, right? That's exactly what many of us, what we do when we say we are doing a startup or we are launching a business. You are trying to change how people behave. For example, couple of years ago, if you have long distance relationship or long distance marriage, actually, come to think of it, do you think long distance relationship existed a few years ago? You must have met, started a relationship, and then the person now traveled. But right now, you don't have to even meet anybody. You don't have to meet yourself physically. You can just slid into each other's DM on Instagram, on Facebook, and then bam, relationship have started. So you can see the way when you say you are launching a startup, how it alters our lives, how it alters the way we do things or the way we are known to have always done things. So that's why the person said that the default result of a startup is what? Is failure. Because it means that there will always first be a restriction. There will always first be people's cultural behavior, people's response to say, oh, I'm not going to go that direction. I'm not going to do that. This is the way I've always done things. Right. But beyond that, why exactly do startups fail in Africa? And why we have this conversation is not to romanticize failure. It is not to celebrate that things fail on the African continent. No, it is to send a message to founders, to send a message to investors, to say, how do we build a siege around ourselves? How do we protect ourselves from wasting time, wasting energy, wasting resources? Have you seen example of businesses that you see this business raised 100 and something million dollars, and then a few years later the business has failed or the business has shut down? That's not good news, right? It's not good news. But how do we really see to it that when we start businesses on the African continent, it succeeds? This is not to say that there's in any way, in any world, there's any perfect world where there can be 100% success rate in business. Absolutely not. But can we reduce the percentage of failure? Or can we reduce the percentage of businesses that shut down? You know, you can fail and not shut down. But that can be a conversation for another day. You try something, it didn't work. But instead of shutting down the company, is there a way to still do something else to keep us afloat? Even if the primary thing we set out to do is not working. And do you see where the conversation is going? And to keep the conversation started, what are the primary things that truly kill businesses in Africa? Right? Because if I ask anybody now, at least two things should come to your head. Two things should actually pop up in your head to say, this is more like the primary reasons why businesses fail, or why startups fail on the African continent. And I'll give it to you plain and simple. Capital on the one hand, infrastructure on the other hand. Let me give an example. If you're starting, so this is a very funny example. Someone said on Twitter that if you want to increase the chance of succeeding as an entrepreneur, you have just one thing to do: move to San Francisco. And do you know what is San Francisco? It's not really because the air is different, or once you land in San Francisco, there's a new wave of idea that just enter your head. It's the fact that, number one, you are close to capital and you are close to infrastructure. You are not going to be there and then you are wondering, oh, you need fast internet. Where do I need to go to? You see that now? You are not going to get there and then you are thinking, oh, you need power supply. You can't rely on the power supply. It's reliable. And then secondly, it's in this kind of society or this kind of environment that when you raise a particular capital and it doesn't work, you can raise another one and another one and another one. Let me give you an assignment. Check on any, for example, go on the likes of Tech Cabal, which is one of the foremost startups reporting platform on the African continent. Go on Tech Cabal. Go and read on businesses that have issues or that have shut down or suspended operations. You would see that there's always something that is somehow constant or that is always present in why they eventually shut down. There's always a particular fundraising that they're expecting that didn't come true. And that's really quite appalling or interesting, because it looks as if you see, I really am trying to avoid giving example of certain businesses. I don't want to mention any names. But you see a business say that, oh, they are owing this, they are owing vendors, they are owing this, and they are owing salaries. And what they are telling them to promise them is the fact that they have certain investment raise that is forthcoming, that they are just simply waiting for, that once it comes in, they'll be able to sort all their overhead. And that says a lot about how we operate, about what we are dependent on. And see, there's somewhere I'm going to with all these things, and I really want you to follow me. See, if you are building on the African continent, you don't need too much grammar. You need to be very realistic. I was telling someone recently, I said, I understand that, yes, we all need to invest in ideas. But let me tell you this, and note this well. Africa is not where you want to build your startup dream. Africa is not where you build your dream. I know that sounds Crazy. See, there's enough capital to try out and test out your dream anywhere else in the world, but not on the African continent. And why do I say that? I'm not saying your dreams are not valid. I'm saying your dreams need to be practical. One of the slogans I love the most when it comes to entrepreneurship is the slogan of Y Combinator. And it says something very simple: make something people want. Not make what you are dreaming about. Not make what you like the world to have. Not make what you are passionate about. Make what? Make something people want. I'm telling you, we need that ideology the most, even on the African continent. We need it. Where you understand that nobody really cares about what your dream is. Nobody really cares. See, this is not a Martin Luther continent. Pardon me. This is a proven versus projected basis continent. That is, you are likely to do well if whatever you are doing is proven already, rather than you thinking that you are banking on something that is projected. I read something recently, and I think everybody should really read that and really accept that. And what's that thing? It said the big ideas, the billion-dollar ideas in Nigeria, in Africa, is not hidden. It's not something you have to go to the third heaven to go and bring out. It's not something you have to think deep or go on one monk mode or, ideate one very deep thing before you can bring out. It's something you see every day. For example, check it. All the billionaires you know on the continent, what exactly what genius idea do they have? Cement, food, telecommunications. There's no out of this world idea. Now, let's get something right. You can say, oh, but they are doing it in other world and it's working. See, you must understand that things are done in layers. And once you understand this, you have peace of mind for yourselves. Things are done in layers. In layers mean that you build one upon the other. You don't move from primary school to master's level. You go to secondary school, then you get your BSc, then you go for your master's. It's the same thing. For example, one of the interesting conversations I've been following in recent time is the increase in data centers in Nigeria. And people are saying it because of how it consumes, what's it called now? Energy. How it consumes energy and how it also needs, what's it called now? The heat. I think the heat that it generates. So people are like, oh, it should be close to where water is and things like that. In fact, if you for those of you that are familiar with how data centers work, you realize that even countries are now clamoring that data centers are using more of the water that's supposed to flow into the communities. Right. Now, that begs the question that, so for a country that is still really praying to God for reliable power supply, do you understand the cost implication to run a data center on diesel? Just try to imagine it. Just try to put it into context. Right. So, and that's why I'm saying that several things, work in layers. Why do you think fintech seems to be really, in quotes now, doing well and doing amazingly well? Because traditional banking has already set a lot of foundational structures. Why do you think, what's it called now? Is it real estate technology? Is it prop tech? Right. Why do you think prop tech is struggling? How many prop tech companies are really doing crazy figures? Why? Because, for example, let's even take it from the basis. We don't even have a regulatory pathway for anybody to get into real estate in Nigeria. We don't. There's no exam. There's nothing that qualifies anybody from becoming a real estate person, other than you saying, "Good morning, everybody. I'm not into real estate." That's all. That's really all what you need. So you see that if such foundational structure is not even set, is the reason why you see people always saying that list your property on this place so that we can connect you to landlord and connect this to this. You will still need agents. And you know why agents being dubious will continue to reign? Let me give you a practical example. In a country like the US, when you see a house that is listed on Zillow, you can see how much it was last sold for. Do you see the level of transparency? It's not that the landlord willingly put it like that. It is required. Once you understand these basics, you will realize that there are some things you don't stress your mind about in trying to build. You simply ask yourself practical questions. Like I said, don't be in dreamland. This is not a place to be in la la land. No. Be realistic. I was saying I used to have conversation with certain of my partners, and I tell them that I really see there are VCs that have money to throw around. There are VCs that want to do 80-20 or 90-10. To be honest, I'm not in that business. I'm not in that business. Right? And I'm not, the interesting part is I'm not even chasing unicorns. So I would rather, instead of me saying I'm putting $100,000 in 10 businesses, if I have $1 million, that okay, worst case scenario, one of them is going to maybe give me $5 million and then to cover up for the remaining part. Maybe I don't need $5 million from one. Maybe I just need each of them to do 20%, and I'm good. Do you see the difference? So I'm not looking for a weirdly, strangely dramatic performance and say, oh, we put money into this business, it did 6,000% returns. Because behind every 3,000% returns you see, there's a backlog of failures. And I'm not saying that there's a way to predict that every business you put money into is going to succeed. Of course, no, that's not what I'm saying here. But I'm just saying that I would rather invest in something that is practical, that does not have any dramatic return, than something that I don't understand how it works, but I'm hoping that by a virtue of a miracle is going to perform. That's what I'm after, right? And this is also, some arguments that certain people have against private equity, right, or venture capitals. Because at the end of the day, one thing you must realize is at the end of the day, some people are actually it's not their money. I think that's the simplest way to say it. So, there are VCs that are gamblers. I think certain investment firms should actually just change their name to something like, for example, instead of additional assets, you can just say additional bets. I honestly think so. Instead of saying, give me a name of one sweet name that can go for investment, maybe Blossom. Instead of Blossom Blossom assets, just say Blossom bet. Because what you are doing is actually taking a bet. Right? Well, that's what you are doing. Right? Because what's wrong between a betting and investment, in my own language, is that there's metric to expect a return when you're investing. And when you're betting, there's no fixed metric to expect a return. So once you throw away metric for hope, for based for just certain assumptions, in Nigeria, there's something we call Ajafo. Right? If you don't know, just Google it. What does Ajafo mean in Nigeria? Right? It simply means that you are betting basically. And this is what, let me say this. I want to encourage you. This is going to be very, very. So, what I want to say right now, listen to it independent of anything you might have heard in recent times. I promise you, it has no connection to anything you might have heard in recent times. I have no political affiliations. I'm just trying to, so that this is a disclaimer. But there might be certain boring businesses that do not sound nice, they don't sound sophisticated. But you know what they will do for you? Number one thing, you can never struggle with cash flow. See, let's stop this suit and tie way of trying to do entrepreneurship, especially in Africa. See, in fact, let me say this. Hope you know, if I ask an average startup person, I'll average found another. What's your dream? What are you trying to? What's your goal? You know, you hear at least a couple of people say, Forbes 30 under 30. Should I be honest with you? It's not really based on merit. Are we together? Like, they pay to be there. So it's not really based on what you are building. Do you know that almost, I don't know the statistics now, but at least, so let me just, to be safe, there are tons of many Forbes 30 under 30 people that have been found that they are fraudsters. Google it if you don't know. In fact, Y Combinator just chased somebody else out. The guy was on the last Forbes 30 under 30. Few weeks later, it was found out he's G-boy. He's not Nigerian. So, but I just use Nigerian language. But they are into fraud. So I'm saying maybe it's time for us to remove the brand and face the business. For us to remove the titles and face the work. Enough of founder of, and actually use what you do in that job. So it's okay for you to start, let's say you start a business now and it's a food business. Instead of using founder and CEO, you know, it's okay to say, I'm a chef at Adeboyin Kitchen. Because what do you do? What's the work that you do? You cook. And then let them say you now have a team of 5 people that cook. It's okay for you now to be head chef at Adeboyin's Kitchen. It's okay. Do you know it's okay? Like, it's okay to introduce yourself with the work that you do. Enough of this. You know, and you know, there was something I said, it's over a year now, right? I don't know if you can remember, there was an additional session that we had then. And I said, the way we are branding entrepreneurship, it's a disservice to the next generation. That the sign of successes in entrepreneurship now is lifestyle. It's lifestyle. Meanwhile, the template or the job, what we use to judge whether you're succeeding is your books. Are you making money? Are you making profits? Are you ethical? Do you even have good corporate governance? Are you investable? But we've thrown this cogent conversation out of the window. Now, what do we talk about? Right? Social media followings. Right? Branding. You know, founders' content. CEOs' content. That's not the work. Do they work when they are used as marketing tool? Of course, excellently. But let them be what it is, marketing tool. What does that mean? I'm using it to sell my market. Maybe we need to start defining marketing as anything you are doing to sell your market. So the first thing, you know, I gave us 2 legs as we're starting. I gave us the capital leg and I gave us the infrastructure leg. I've really spent enough time talking about the capital leg. You don't have trial and error capital. See, let me say this. They asked a particular investor that what business would you bootstrap for and what business would you raise capital for? And he said if he wants to change the world, he will raise capital for. But if he just wants to, if what he's doing is not really about changing the world, just want to do, you know, do business like without any big idea, he will do what? He will bootstrap it. Before you attempt to change the world, right? Maybe you might just need to first focus on maybe changing your community. For example, what does changing your community means? The only person selling puff-puff in your area, the puff-puff is not really nice. And you know that you make a really banging puff-puff. Then make a good puff-puff for people in your community. Guess what? It's daily cash flow. And like I said, this statement is independent of anything you might have heard in recent times. Right. I'm just saying that, for example, do you know one of the fastest growing food businesses in Nigeria? They only have 2 menus. Check them out. Check item 7 out. Just launched, I think, their 22nd branch in Ibadan. Probably over 50 branches as you are speaking. They are not trying to innovate any menu. Are you getting my logic now? They're not trying to say, see, they are not trying to say that we make the best Senegalese Oriental jollof. No. Party jollof, fried rice, plantain, fish, chicken, beef. That's all. They don't even sell turkey. Do they? They don't. Then coleslaw. That's all. That's all their menu. That's all their menu. And I know you now. You want to show that you are a good chef. Do you want to be a good chef or do you want to build a good food business? It's two things. It's different things. Right? And once you understand, see, you make life easy for yourself. Let me tell you this. I'm not saying you will not build your dream. I'm saying build cash flow first. Then use cash flow to build your dream. Do you understand? So many of you, see, there's some dream you can't finance if you still need rent. And some of you even see, stop enslaving people and owing them salaries all in the name of we are building a dream. Find a working version of that idea, a practical version of that idea. It can be, see, when you are defining MVP as a Nigerian, as an African, make sure your MVP is the part that make money. I know you want to build SpaceX, but can you first do space shuttle? Let the space shuttle be giving you daily 20K. At least you know that number one, you pay salary. Number two, you pay your rent. Number three, you eat. Then from that cash flow, now start saving from the space shuttle to now start doing space rockets. Don't start with space rockets. You're now in 3 months salary and now say, no, you have to believe in the vision. No, we are not going to believe in the vision. Don't just keep people. See, we need to be practical. We don't really have, do you know, go and Google it. There's been a decline in capital that comes to Africa. The peak in the last 4 years, in the last 5 years, 2022 was the highest capital we've gotten on the continent. So what has happened in the last 3 years? We've been having decline, 23 decline, 24 decline. And guess what? We are now living in an ecosystem, especially in Nigeria, with a very, very unfriendly macroeconomics. Inflation is crazy. Many of the assets that many of you are saying has increased in value, it did not. It's just the devaluation of the currency. How would you know? Adjust it to dollars. Oh, you bought a property 5 years ago for 50 million. You sold it now for 150 million naira. Adjust to dollars. Let's see how much you really made. Because the way you should be thinking is, if an investor that gave you the money to do that thing brought dollars from the US and he has children to pay for their school fees in the US, and then he sold the property to pay their school fees, would he still be able to? Do you get what I'm trying to say? So there's a lot of things already designed against you. I'm saying it categorically now. We don't have the luxury of capital for trial and errors. And so maximize the capital you can have. And I'm saying it as someone who has also made the mistakes. And now, see, let me tell you something. We deploy capital and we see, sometimes when you speak to certain entrepreneurs, they want to blackmail you with, you don't believe in my vision. I don't want to believe in your vision. I want to see a practical business that is worth my capital. Simple. I'm not investing to believe in. My investment is not, I'm not doing charity. Does that make sense? I'm not running a charity organization. Right? So I'm not here to make you feel good that you have a good vision. I'm here to make money. I'm here to know that where I'm deploying my capital has potential for returns. That's why I'm here. That's what I'm here for. Because there's the blackmail of the entire, what's it called now? Vision thing, dream thing, and all those things. Now it's not done. It's not done. It's not done that way. So you can't blackmail anybody. So that's the leg of the capital. See, once you first get this, you won't build with the assumption that capital is coming. You build to get cash flow. And get what I said correctly, right? I said, I'm not saying your dreams are not valid. I'm not saying your dreams will not work. I'm saying start with a version of that your dream that can cash flow and prove something. Such that even when you are meeting investors, see, there's even something that in recent time I was telling a particular founder. I said, I think every African entrepreneur needs to have rainy day fund. So, and why I said that to someone at the aim of making a strategic expansionary decision. I said, okay, I get it. You have the money to finance this expansion. But the practical question is, what if it fails? So I told the person, I said, have you heard this analogy that don't buy anything until you can afford to buy it twice? He said, yes. I said, let's apply to this business. Let's not start this expansionary plan until we can afford to do it 2 times. So if it fails, we still have enough liquid to still continue to run the primary business that we are running without anybody knowing we tried anything and failed. See, let's not be too occupied with the idea. The economy is already harsh as it is. Don't make it harder for yourselves. I want to say this, and I'll just say it in passing. We have an influx of Oyinbo entrepreneurs. They have black-skinned, but they are Oyinbo entrepreneurs. If the business they are doing in Africa fail, their house is in London. Do you get what I'm saying? See, they are entrepreneurs. They are entrepreneurs with Baba Saleh. Do you know what Baba Saleh means? Entrepreneurs that even if the business fail, I'm telling you, they won't feel anything. They have another job they can easily apply for in the UK, in the US. In fact, they have some even are from rich homes. They can afford. So I'm saying not even all African entrepreneurs are alike. Some honestly can afford to fail. I'm talking to the hungry entrepreneurs, the one that, see, let me be practical. The ones that this entrepreneurship you are doing is really a determinant to your future, especially to your financial future. I know if you want to do something you're passionate about, you go and run an NGO. So you are in business to what? To build something tangible for yourself and your family. You know what our tagline is at Additional Assets? Investing for prosperity. So if I'm not talking about how you can actually build prosperity, then I'm deceiving you. I'm deceiving you. I was reading the news recently, and Meta laid off, I think, 8,000 employees. And the reason was the fact that they said the adoption, what they believed that AI agents was going to do is too slow to achieve it. But do you know how much Meta, in fact, this year, I think they're still going to spend about $145 billion on AI this year. Do you know how much Facebook acquired Instagram? $1 billion. Do you know how long it took them before they made a kobo? It's just now that they just launched. I think there's now WhatsApp Premium, right, for you that you can pay. 2026. The question number one is, can you wait 5 years before that thing makes money? Are you that liquid? Do you have enough bankrollers to do that? If not, face the real business. When you get to certain level like like Meta, right? You can definitely afford to now start financing dreams and visions and changing the world. But for now, maybe you don't need to change the world. You don't need to change the world. I know we can do great things from a small place. But the great things might be relative. And I'm not trying to condition any thought. I'm just trying to say be practical, be realistic. That's really what I'm saying. I've spoken to too many delusional founders. You are trying to build. There are some ideas that just leave it for people in San Francisco. I'm saying this with all my full chest. Just leave it for them. At least for now. Or see, if you're an African and then you are there, feel free. Build all those things. But you're on the African continent. Wait, do you think as energies could not have, or let's just use Tony Numelu now, could not have put $500 million into an AI company? Why did he put it in Seplat? Do you think he's not visionary? He's not thinking that AI is going to change the world. You think Dangote cannot raise $30 billion and put it in some AI innovations, some data centers, and try to also do cool technology innovations. Why did he go and build a refinery? Don't forget what I said at the beginning. You build in layers. Especially for those of us that were actually talking about building the African continent. You must understand. Do you know how old America is? Do you know how old Nigeria is? We still have tons of roads to construct. We still have to get energy right. We still have to get internet right. Every day you are dragging MTN for increasing price and still not having internet. There's so many layers that we still need to get right. But like I said, there's a time that Dangote said he wanted to buy Arsenal. Can you see that? There's a time when you build enough liquid, you can decide to say, good, now, myself, I want to invest in the future generation of artificial intelligence. But that's not when you are still contemplating on when salaries of staff will come in. I'm saying our thinking as African entrepreneurs must be practical rather than projective. Must be practical, proven. I want to fund a business that can make money from day one. A guy reached out to me some time ago. He makes very cool technology pieces. And I asked him, how many units have you sold? So he was saying he needed money for this. He believes that they can do that. And I said, oh, hold on. Let's test run this thing. How much will it cost you to make 5 pieces? I'll give you money to do 5 pieces. Sell it. If there's market for it, we'll do another 10 pieces. If there's market for it, then we scale like that. I'm not doing, this is a multi-billion industry. Do you know that what's it called? Is it the robotic industry is what? I don't care what the robotic industry is what. I don't care what is what. Because the robotic industry, let's look at the recent IPOs now. Why are people fuming against, what's it called? SpaceX IPO. Why are they fuming against it? Because they are comparing the revenue and the profit to companies that is valued less. Just imagine company A has revenue of $100 billion, has profit margin of, let's say, 30%. That company is, I said $100 billion, let's use Nigerian naira. A company has revenue of 100 billion naira, revenue margin of, let's say, profit after tax of 30%. Company B has revenue of $50 million, 15 billion naira, revenue margin of 10%. And company A is worth 500 billion naira, and company B is now worth 1 trillion naira. That's exactly what people are fuming about. That there's a company that is making more money than you, making more profits than you, yet you valued your company above that company. That's where the overvaluation theory comes from. And that's the template that many entrepreneurs are really looking at, right? That's the template that many people need to actually, that's what they are following after. That's what they are following after. Be realistic. We already have capital deficit. We have infrastructure deficit. This is not the time to say you are building a dream, or you are, especially when the dream is not. Let the dream, let there be liquid, and let there be enough liquid to finance that dream. That's the summary. Right. And why am I saying all these things? Because at traditional lab, what we are really out to do is to see how we can truly empower and accelerate African founders. Right. And that's why the 3-month training cohort comes in. And then from the 3-month training cohort, there's now the financing phase. And we don't want to give false hope to anybody. We don't want to give. So it's the reason why, whether you've already launched a business or you think you have a business, we will still take you through the redouement. The month 1 is still back to the redouement of product development. It's a 3-phase program. Month 1 is for product. Month 2 is for promotion, where you now marketing, sales, all those things. So even before you leave the accelerator program, you must have been making money. So whatever your idea is when you come into the program, we will find a way to make sure you start making money. We will help you find something you can start selling from it. Then the last thing is process. For it to, how do you now build sustainable processes, operations, legal, hiring, and all those things around it? So we can now leave you to know that, okay, you've understood how to build great products, you've understood how to sell, and also how to ensure that the back end sustains the growth that you're really looking for. Right? So there's no false hope. There's no false hope. There's no false hope. And if you've not heard about it, this is a good introduction then. Right? So you should actually apply to additional lab. Right? If you are looking to get coached. Now, this is not, when I say coaching, I'm not talking about classes. Right? We are taking 100 people for this first cohort, and you are going to be divided into 10 groups. So everybody in your group you are going to be in related industry, or in the same industry or related industry, because you are going to be assigning you a coach. So it's like a football coaching. Football coaching is not you sitting down in classroom and they're telling you, oh, so if you want to pass ball, you have to arc your leg at a 45-degree angle. No. They take you to the field. It's like an athletics coach. So your coach is on the field with you. He's building with you. You meet for 3 hours every day. So you meet for 3 hours every week, and then you are building together for the rest of the week because there's a deliverable for every week. So at the end of the month, you've had 36 hours of direct coaching, that's on-field coaching, and then 247, and you have 247 founder support. So we assign everybody to a support staff. So you don't know, you can't afford the staff, don't worry, come to additional lab, there's a free staff on standby for you. Free staff on standby for you. You want to create content, you want to do whatever, you want to manage your calendar, don't worry, we have a support staff for you. So you are getting not just coaching from seasoned entrepreneurs, not just myself, you are getting support staff, you are getting access to resource library, and then for businesses that we find valuable, right, we are teaming up with a group of investors to have a demo day where we are going to actually be investing. The minimum check that we are looking to write at the end of the 3 months is $10,000. It's $10,000. So if this sounds like something you've been waiting for, you've been looking, so anyway, I've been asking, I want to get mentored by you, I want you to mentor me now. You're not going to just getting mentored by me now, you're getting mentored by 10 seasoned entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, not business coaches, entrepreneurs and investors that'll be working through with you. The link is all over social media. By whether you're watching on YouTube, the link is on our bio. Whether you're watching on Instagram, the link is on our bio. You're watching on Facebook, the link is on our bio. You're watching on TikTok, the link is on our bio. Right. So anywhere you're watching from, the link is on our bio there. Just sign up, fill the form. There's a tuition fee of 500,000 naira. Right? It's not free. In case you're thinking that it's free. So let me just discourage you from filling the form now so that you don't disturb our customer service person. Right. It's 500,000 naira. Right. For 3 months. So if you don't already, if you think, don't worry. It's not fight. You're a good person, but it's not fight. Right. But that's just it. Right. Why are we doing this? I speak to entrepreneurs every day. I've been financing entrepreneurs since 2021. I've been giving grants, giving loans, investing my little capital in businesses since 2021. So and I've been organizing also coaching. There's hardly any business or startup or entrepreneurship program I've organized since 2021 that I've not financed at least one entrepreneur from that cohort. There's none. In fact, we've made offers to acquire businesses from our cohort. So this is not a new thing. In fact, if you've known Additional for a while, you would know that this is not a new thing that we are doing. We are just now doing it on a standardized scale, such that we can truly churn out quality founders that can build something. See, my goal first, let me be honest with you. My goal is that whatever entrepreneurship you claim to be doing, it should be able to at least sustain you. What does that mean? It should be able to pay your bills. Is that a noble thing? I know, I say it all the time, that entrepreneurship is the closest thing to charity because it's a selfless entity, yes. But I also know that you have to be alive to be selfless. The dead cannot be selfless. So my first goal is the fact that, number one, can this business you claim to be doing, can it sustain you? You'll be saying you have this idea is that. 3 months now, you've not made a naira. If all your livelihood depends on that business, would you be alive? And this is a pattern I've seen recurrently. And that's why we peg the money as 500k. So at least before you come into the courts, you should have at least been making money. So that's a filter to show that, okay, this is a business that already you found a way to be making money. Except you are joining with an investor's capital, or you borrowed the money, or someone gave you the money to be in the court. Meanwhile, before you leave, you must make money, because that's what the month is dedicated for. That's what it's dedicated for, right? And it's this is not even new. The last additional intelligence we had, I think that's May, before we converted it to additional lab. Someone did a lady asked a question in one of those sessions. She was like, her daddy invested in her business, want to invest in her business. She's scared. She doesn't know how to go about it. Maybe she's even watching me. Her name is Joy. Right. I'm a proud mentor to her. She was scared. I was like, are you okay? I don't really know how to hide my feeling. People are praying for the opportunity that someone wants to give to you, and you're saying you are scared. I said, come on, go and do it. About 2-3 weeks after that, she sent me a message. That day, in one day, she made sale of 1.2 million naira. And why? I didn't papa to say, don't worry. No. Sales, marketing. Right. At least the business should be able to sustain you. So why do startups fail in Africa? It's not necessarily because there's shortage of capital. It's not necessarily because there's infrastructure deficit, right? My own primary rationale that I've noticed that business fails in Africa is because we try to build like we are not in Africa. We adopt some Western ideology, some Western way of doing things, and then we bring it back to business. And then we are building as if we have limitless capital, or we have reliable infrastructure, or we have someone to continue to finance even if your idea does not make sense. We don't have that luxury. Over there, I believe, right, it's still easy for you to get there and say you found the menial jobs that is still paying you at least something decent to still sustain your life. At least. Over here, do you want to live on 40,000 naira salary as a cleaner? But the minimum wage, they can still at least afford you something in certain places. But I'm saying, let's adjust the lens back to our reality on this continent. Let's adjust our lens back to our reality on this continent, and then let's build with the consciousness that you are in Nigeria, you are in Kenya, you are in Ghana, you are in Rwanda, you are in Malawi, you are in South Africa. Be realistic. You are in Cameroon. Right. I remember Cameroon because we are doing something exciting in Cameroon. Right. So, and guess what? Additional lab is virtual. So regardless of where you are, 100% virtual. You can join us. So this is where we're going to wrap up for today's additional lab live. And I'm sure that you've learned something, and I'll look forward to seeing you inside the lab as you decide to join us. If you've learned anything, I'd like to see your comments, shares, whatever it's. However, you can even send us a mail to say, oh, the last session you had, it was really nice. I joined from this place. I'd love to read from you, honestly speaking. And then, by the way, if you don't have the entire 500,000 naira to join, right, you have to July 13th to make at least a deposit of 50%. That's 50,000 naira before July 13th. And then you can spread the rest to balance by July 31st when the session starts, right? And that is that about that. I'll see you next week, Friday, the same time, 5 p.m. on Additional Lab Live. Cheers, guys.